Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button, that subscribe button. If you want to find us there, go to Empire Media. We know you have choices of which shows you want to watch or listen to, so we always appreciate you choosing this show. Today, I'm joined by former Washington tight end Rick Doc Walker as we dive into the Commanders entering the season. What does Doc like after watching them this preseason? Does he know enough about them? What does he think about the offense, the defense, all that good stuff? And as you know, Doc is always a passionate guest. So without further ado, let's get to my conversation with former Washington tight end Rick Doc Walker. So you guys are seeing Doc Walker and I right here. I got to tell you, Doc's a true pro, man, because we were trying to record this earlier today. Some issues with Zoom. Doc kept being patient with it, and look who we have. It's Rick Doc Walker, the legend Bruin, and all that. So, Doc, thank you very much. Before we get going, I want you to plug all your stuff because you got a few things people need to check out with your podcast and all that. So tell them where they can find you.
Patreon, patreon.com/Doc Walker for the podcast I do with Steve Solomon, the Solly, my guy, and we chop it up, man. We're in, I think, show 250 episodes that we've got going, and every day you just try to get better and better at it, and the content is overwhelming, and I truly enjoy it. And also today, I'll be on at 3 to 6 on the Team 980, and I'll be doing that all week. So, I like doing what I do.
Well, it shows, and I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're still doing all this stuff because your passion is fantastic. So I am curious. Let's look at the Commanders, and we just found out the final cut. So, but this is being taped a couple days before this airs. So focus on the big picture. What was your perception of this team coming into camp, and what was it at the end of the summer?
Well, they just have to get better, and they have to be more consistent. The practices I got a chance to see, I was very impressed with their work ethic, the organization of practice, and I think they got accomplished what they wanted to get done. Obviously, I'd like it to be a lot more physical. I'd like to see them go up against another professional team. Iron sharpens iron. But if you're going up against your teams, you win 7 games. So your personnel is indicative of your record. So it's just like with the cuts. Guys like Patterson, who I'm pulling for, you can't help but pull for certain guys who perform well. And so that was it. The tight end position was personal because the kids really went after it. I mean, Amari took every snap. He may not even make the team, but he took every snap. Okay, so he made it. All right. But there was a chance that he couldn't because the kid from the Rams, I mean, I could have fought an argument for a guy who's actually played in big games as opposed to a guy converted from quarterback to tight end. But I'm not a personnel guy. What I'm looking for is new faces. So I think there are probably some guys that they'll be able to pick up that are better than the people that they had. Because if you had a bunch of really good players, you would have more than 7 wins. So it's either personnel or scheme. And I think both of them are tied together. The better players you get, the more you can scheme.
Do you feel better or worse about this team now going the season after having watched them all summer?
Well, I mean, it's a false read because I never got to see him play. I was going to ask you that too. Yeah. The core, the most important part of the team to me, clearly are the 2 tackles, which I'm comfortable with, with Luke and the Longhorn. Now the gut of my team, I've got Roulier, who's been on a pitch count. On my left guard, Noel, he's been in and out. And the right guard, I haven't ever seen him in a uniform.
Right.
So in 13 days, this is where their experience pays off. This is not their first rodeo. So, but again, it's about going up against people, your competition against Jacksonville. The guy you're facing may have not missed a play, may have been through camp. There's no way that from an endurance standpoint, if it really gets challenging, that you can compete with him unless I just don't know how that's possible. Or you're not playing, maybe he's not that good. Maybe you get away with it. So people look at the schedule and say, well, you're playing Jacksonville and Detroit. Maybe that works to your favor. We will see. But there's nothing that I've seen that would indicate anything for me to go, wow, I know we're a lock.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you too. Is it harder to get a read on guys now because the trend around the league is not to play starters much in the preseason? We didn't see them in a joint practice at all. Is it harder to get a read in a situation like this?
It's impossible for me to get a read because I don't care about anything but seeing you in live competition. I don't judge quarterbacks that wear different colored jerseys. It's unrealistic. I got to see. That's why I like Howell. I saw him in a real football game, and the guy impressed by his ability to make plays. He's a playmaker, and he didn't wet the bed. The moment was never too big for him. So he's a guy I got a chance to evaluate. And so I only can evaluate the guys I got to see play. And, there were good and bad spots. The corners obviously were in dire need. Yeah. And what they decided was that they can get somebody that maybe couldn't make a better team. Don't forget, you're only judging the team you get to see.
Right.
But only teams I focus on are the Rams, the Niners, Tampa Bay, Minnesota. I'm looking at Green Bay. Can you beat those guys? Can you match up against them? Because to get where I need to be, that's the tournament. I've got to be able to match up against those guys. Hey, Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants. That's who I got to match up against. And I have no indication about where we are based on what I saw, based on the way they handled camp.
And that's it was easier back in the day to get a better read. But, as you know, sometimes preseason fools you anyways. But I think it's been harder when you only see them against themselves in for the starters for the most part. What with Brian Robinson, because he obviously, he's the shooting incident and all that. And as we're taping this, I would certainly not expect him back for the opener, but but could be back sooner than later. But they're going to miss him early on. What do they miss with him not out there?
Just a ground and pound kind of guy, shoulder square. He's going to get you 3 yards a carry. I mean, it's the closest thing I've seen to Stephen Davis type guy, downhill runner. We've had backs that did some really good things. It's hard for me to judge Shanahan's offense. It works for everybody. Right. I mean, it's the best run game in pro football. And it's coming. That's what I like about it. They don't hide anything. And now the quarterback they've added now gives them even a greater dimension. He may be mediocre or average in the pass game, but, buddy, try defending them now. Right. Because now, it's day and night. So if they're able to be patient with him, if he just doesn't turn the ball over, because their defense also delivers. See, this is and special teams. So, I need to know who our returners are. We had a guy who was a game breaker. He's no longer here. So I need to be convinced that we are going to gain field position. I'm spoiled. I'm used to Nelms and Mitchell and those guys. So I need to know who these people are. Joey Slide. I like him. He's the best we have. He had no confidence. We got maybe the most. But again, we got to get guys out there that the release guys and cover guys. So it's all put together, and I haven't seen it. So I'm waiting on the opener just so I can see what we have. We're hiding everything, but there's a risk in that. Now, there are a lot of people played their starters. Some people lost starters by playing them. There's no way to say what's right or wrong. Right. All I'm saying is that you got to live with the results, and we won't know until November as to if this plan, this methodology is actually successful.
After the last couple of years, how huge is it for this team to get off to a good start?
It's day and night. I mean, Ron's teams have a reputation of slow starts, strong finishes. So if you didn't change anything in your preparation, what's going to change that? You are who you say you are and how you prepare. And now if he had a drastic change, and let's say we just scrimmage Baltimore, which I don't know why on earth we don't do that. We can load up in buses. We can go to Navy. We can go to University of Maryland and have a scrimmage. Now, I don't understand the technical part of that. Now, my brain doesn't function that way. But if they go 0-2, you damn well, that's what I'm going to be thinking. I'm going to go, really? If they go 2-0, he's right. It's all about the scoreboard. There's no talking matters to me at all. You are what your record says it is. And the scoreboard is the guide that we all play by.
So we saw Robinson replaced Antonio as training camp went on. Are you confident in Antonio, what he can still do as a running back?
Oh, nothing changes. I mean, he's not going to be 8. He's never going to be 8. None of them are. This guy's special. But you move on from that. And they still, once the back room is settled, they still have a ground and pound element in it. And he's been here. So they gave you, they're like a Swiss Army knife. They got guys do a lot of different things. But we threw on 3rd and 3. 3rd and 3 is a rundown, especially in preseason, for nothing else other than say, our young guys in there, Chris Paul and those guys, Ismail, the guys who are in the game, I'd like to see them given a shot to fight for it. So we'll find out. Maybe when they get their guns back, who knows? It's unknown. I don't like having unknowns, question marks, coming out of camp. I would like to have had, a better feeling, but who knows? Maybe they're right, and maybe this will work.
What's the biggest unknown for you?
Well, who's going to be there on that offensive line, that interior? It's going to get the confidence in the pocket and do his thing in preseason. And maybe they can hit the ground running. Maybe not. So those are things I'm not worried about. 2 tackles. They played Leno Jr. He's ready. I saw him over there warming up in Baltimore. They were vicious. So everybody, the things I worry about is the rush ins. The guys who change the game are guys that get to the quarterback. Now, if we can protect up front and give Carson that pocket, I don't want Carson running around a lot. More things happen that are bad than good at this point. He's a thrower. I just be given a chance to.
What did you think of Wentz this summer?
I thought Carson, his brain's got to be rattled. 3 teams in 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Magnum cum laude. That's a lot of information to process. And if things start to break down, you go back to what you are used to instinctively. And he's had more trouble when those breakdowns. But he still is better than anyone we've had under center since Kirk Cousins. Now he's got to be able to prove it. I love the receivers. We got some guys. I'm so excited about the opportunities that Coach Turner has to deploy people in a way I don't think we've seen since the posse. And so that's exciting. That's where our Swiss Army knives with our receivers turn running back. That's when it comes to an advantage. You don't know where people are lining up. Our tight ends are so athletic that if they're actually in the game, man, I don't know how you defend them. I really don't. If that core 5 up front, O-line can give them a chance at it, this could be frightening.
When a guy like Wentz, when he's been for this 13 and 3 years, and you're a teammate of his, how do you view him? Do you view him still as the guy that's got all this talent? Do you prejudge? How do you go about that to make sure that he wins this team over?
I got to make sure I help him. You got to help him make a play. It's like Donnie Brown. He could have been a hero. He's 2 catches away from being a hero. They would have snapped the streak. They would have gone down and ended this thing with the Ravens. See, I want a rivalry. Like, the Curly W's and the Orioles. I mean, I think it's cool. The Capitals and, and the Flyers. That sauces things up. Guys need a little bit of incentive. Everybody's making money. It's beyond money. It's about bragging rights. It's about rivalries like you and I both have been involved in that make it the world turn. Michigan, Ohio State. That's what you play this game, you wait on things like that. Well, what rivalry do we have now? I don't know. I really don't know. But I know we need to get back to that and establish some things. And in order to do that, we've got to be good enough to earn it. And that's what I'm looking for, because it just makes everything better. We can talk some trash. We got some things going. Then life is fun.
How do you see this team stacking up the NFC East as we're still about a week and a half away from the season? How do you feel like they stack up in the NFC East?
Well, I haven't seen anybody.
Okay.
I've seen Dallas, and they look the same. They had 150 penalties. That's who they are.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, everybody is saying they're the team. Well, they got to go prove it. They might have the best personnel doesn't mean squat if they don't execute. I like their approach because they're a run-first team.
Right.
I like run-first teams. And then defense. I just the way they're built. It doesn't mean it'll work. And then the Giants, I mean, don't sleep on them. We have a very difficult time with them, no matter who's their quarterback. So I just think that I don't know. I haven't seen anybody play. Everybody's playing hide and seek in preseason. Okay. But some of the teams traditionally, I'm going, we're so young. We got so many transplants. They got to understand this culture. These guys are still getting immersed in this, what's left of it. So they got to establish a whole new thing, new name, new uniform. Everything's new. So go out and put your imprint on it, and let's get off to a good start.
How big a year is this for Scott Turner as a coordinator?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's tied together because, if the defense performed like they did in the preseason on third down, they're all in trouble. We got to get people off the field. So,
right.
I mean, they're all tied together.
Yep. We
can't be missing PATs and missing field goals and letting guys run free in the secondary. We have two blows. We got two receivers that run into each other. That's why you go through training camp. So clearly that wasn't eliminated because we saw it in the game. I'm not making this up. I'm just reporting what I see. And if you're happy with that, then so be it. Then you're involved in betting or you're into fantasy. I'm into football, and I didn't see what I wanted to see. 0-3 don't settle well with me at all. And we lost every one of our games in preseason, but we went 12-1 after that. I don't know if these guys are capable of that. Let's see. We'll see. That's the beauty. In the year we won all 4, we lost our first 5 games. So that's why, you really can't take that preseason thing and say, this is who we are. You don't know who you are until you prove it. And Jacksonville is the proving ground.
Who do you think they will be, though? Do you have a feeling? Because, we can look at it last year, 7 wins, better quarterback, easier schedule, but you can't always go on paper, right?
Well, I don't buy the schedule thing. Yeah, right. I mean, that's look, man, you're a world-class journalist, and you have to feed the public, and there's always something to feed them with. But guys like me, I don't buy any of that crap because you don't know how the new players will adjust. You don't know how the free agents will adjust. You have no idea how they've been trained and what they will do. Here's what I'll tell you. Jacksonville and Detroit have marked this game as W's for them.
Yep.
You may think that they think just of you as you think of them. And they've seen Carson Wentz. They saw him the last time, I think his last game he played was against the Jags.
Yep.
Okay. You think they're worried about him? I don't think so. So, and they got a new kid over there from Georgia coming off the end, but we got a guy, Big Luke got him. So I'm not worried about that. I just want to see it. And I have the right to be skeptical about anything that I haven't seen. You got to prove me right. Prove me wrong.
They haven't been winning, so they have to prove it on the field. Defensively, concerned, optimistic, what do you think about the D?
Oh, I'm concerned about the entire team.
Yeah.
I need to know about everybody because I've got a guy I think is dynamic at 90 and Sweat, but I got to see it. Their effort was fantastic, but they were just an inch or two away. Now, I only judge them against Kansas City. I only judge you against the best. And they didn't stink up the joint. They just didn't make a play or two, but they were highly aggressive. That was encouraging to me. I mean, because that was our once. Also saw teams march 90 yards down the field and score on them. So, look, everybody's entitled to experiment in the preseason. That's a choice you make. I'm more in the Baltimore framework of that. We try to win every time we come out. We teach it. It's like coming in and being SEAL Team 6. They don't come in and say, oh, it's preseason. These don't matter. They say everything matters. It's a mental mind. It's a mental thing. So they come out and they try to tear your behind up every time they come on the field. So far, it's working. People say it doesn't mean anything. I disagree. It's culture. It's culture. It's letting people know when you put that uniform on, you're representing something bigger than yourself. And that's what's got to happen around here. We got to get back to the fact that it matters what we do every time we show up. And this is a standard that you set. And I just don't know how you can do that without having some violence interjected into how you train.
Well, I was going to ask you that too, and be the last thing, but like, what you have going back, like, there's a lot of teams that won 7 or 8 games last year. So they're not alone, and all those teams think they're going to be better the next year. What, in your experience, usually is the separator from a team that can go from 7 to 10 versus one that just stays at that level?
The people you pay the most must do the most.
There you go.
All great teams are carried on by great players. There's 2 or 3 guys that have got to be difference makers on your team, and they're usually the guys making the most money. And so I look at it: the most you make, the more you got to do. You cannot be average, making $20 million, $17 million. Everybody, to me, over $10 million a year to play a game, you on lockdown to me. You got to show me. Now, I know the league's making a fortune, and that's great. But that's how, when you make a decision to pay somebody, it can't be just because you like them. It's got to be because they bring something to the table to get you over the top. Great players drive this league. Then your blue-collar guys maintain it, right. Okay? And then you're growing youth in the process, so your babies grow up and understand what's expected of them. I've never seen a great team without great players.
Do they have them here?
Well, we're paying it. Look at the payroll. Yeah, you're paying people. You got people playing for big contracts. I hear it all the time. They're playing for this and that, and I go, well, when are they going to start playing to win? You know, and when is winning going to determine how much you make? I understand how the business is operated, but that's a decision you make. You choose how you pay. It'd be very simple for me. I don't know how I can have a superstar on a team that has a losing record. Either I'm not scheming them up well, or they're not as good as they claim to be.
There you go. Doc, you're the best. Check them out on Patreon. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate your patience.
Hey, man. No, come on, dude. This is what we do for each other. We're family, man. And I just look, I'm looking forward to the opener. I cannot wait to see all this unfold.
I'm just glad we can stop talking about what they might do, what this means, what that means, what that doesn't mean. Now we'll know for sure this is who you are. And I like that part of it. So
that's it too, brother.
Yep.
All right,
thanks,
John.
Man.
Can't wait to get you on the pod, brother.
All right, anytime.
All right. Good deal.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Doc for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Monday with another episode. Talk to you next time.